this lesson, we'll be doing zero product property. By the end of the lesson, you should be able to solve quadratic equations in the form of ax squared plus bx equals 0. So zero product property just means that if the product of two numbers is 0, then at least one of the numbers is 0. So all that means is if I have 7 times 0, that equals 0. If I have 11 times 0, it equals 0. The only way I can get an answer to be 0 is if one of the factors is 0. So when we factor a polynomial, remember we find the GCF of the coefficients, and then we find the GCF of each variable, and factor by grouping. To solve one, we have to completely factor it, and then we set each one of the factors equal to 0. We solve for the variable, and then plug those two answers back into the original equation, the original binomials, and check and see if they're correct. All right, so here we have two binomials, and all we're going to do is solve. And that simply means that I take each of the binomials and set it to 0. I add 5, so d equals 5. That's one of my choices. And 2d plus 4 equals 0. 2d equals negative 4. d is equal to negative 2. So those are my solutions, negative 2, 5. In braces because it's a set of numbers. Now I want to go back and check and make sure that both of them work in that equation. So if I decide that d is negative 2, so negative 2 minus 5, 2 times negative 2 plus 4, so 2 minus 5 is negative 7, negative 2 times negative 2 is negative 4, negative 4 plus 4 is 0, negative 7 times 0 is 0. Now let's do the same thing. All right, set these both to 0. X plus 3 equals 0, so x is equal to negative 3. X plus 5 equals 0, so x is equal to negative 5. So my solutions, negative 5, negative 3. I can plug those both in to check. So negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2. And negative 5 plus 5 is 0. 0 times negative 2 is 0. All right, factor completely. So the first thing I want to do is make sure it equals 0. So x squared minus 7x equals 0. What's my GCF? My GCF here is x, so I'm going to factor that out. So x minus 7 equals 0. Those are my two factors. I set them equal to 0. So my solutions are 0, 7. So if I plug it in, 0 squared is 0, and 7 times 0 is 0. If I plug in 7, so 7 squared equals 7 times 7. 7 squared is 49, and 7 times 7 is 49. All right, factor by grouping. I'm going to group these and these. So my GCF of 6c minus 12c is 6c. Divide them both by 6c, and I get 1 minus 2c. Over here, I take out a 2, and it gives me 1 minus 2c. So I get 2c plus 2 times 1 minus 2c. Set both of my factors equal to 0. 6c plus 2 equals 0. 6c equals negative 2. Divide both by 6, and I get c is equal to negative 1/3. 1 minus 2c equals 0. Negative 2c equals negative 1. Divide them both by negative 2, and I get c equals 1/2. Write an expression in factors form for the area of the shaded region. So I'm looking for these outside little pieces. So what I need to do is find the area of the whole square and then subtract the area of the circle. So to get the square, I know that each side is 2r. And then the area of the square is going to be 2r times 2r, and that's 4r squared. Area of the circle is pi r squared. So I get 4r squared minus pi r squared. I have a GCF here of r squared, so divide them both by that, and I get 4 minus pi. A rocket is shot up in the air at a rate of 32 feet per second. The formula used to measure height is given. How long is the rocket in the air before falling back to the ground? So we're using the equation of h equals 32t minus 16t squared. Our h is 0 because it's starting on the ground. So 32t minus 16t squared equals 0. I'm going to factor out a 16t, which leaves me 2 minus t equals 0. Then I'm going to set them each to 0. 16t equals 0, so t equals 0. And 2 minus t equals 0. Negative t equals negative 2, so t is equal to 2. So my choices for how long it's in the air is 0 seconds or 2 seconds. And since it left the ground, it can't be 0 seconds, so my answer has to be 2 seconds. What property states that if an answer is 0, one of the factors must be 0? The zero product property. Is 4x minus 4 in completed factored form? No, because there's a GCF of 4 there.